Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. I stood at my workstation at the lab, carefully measuring out a vibrant blue liquid into a series of test tubes. The genetic serum I'd been developing for months was finally ready for testing, and excitement coursed through my veins. Hey Devin, how's the miracle juice coming along? Murphy's voice boomed from across the room, causing me to jump slightly. I rolled my eyes at my best friend's antics. It's not miracle juice, Murph. It's a carefully formulated genetic serum that could revolutionize cellular regeneration. Murphy sauntered over, his lanky frame towering over me as he peered at my work. Same difference. You gonna try it on some lab rats or what? Not yet, I replied, carefully capping the last test tube. I need to run a few more simulations before we move to animal trials. As I spoke, I reached for my tablet to input the latest data. My elbow caught the edge of the tray holding the test tubes, and time seemed to slow as I watched the blue liquid slosh dangerously close to the rim. Whoa! Careful there! Murphy's hand shot out, steadying the tray before disaster could strike. I let out a shaky breath. Thanks, man. That could have been bad. Little did I know, a single drop had escaped, landing unnoticed on my skin. The rest of the day passed uneventfully. I wrapped up my work, said goodbye to Murphy, and headed home to my small, off-campus apartment. Exhaustion settled into my bones as I shuffled through my nightly routine, barely registering the slight tingling sensation spreading across my body as I crawled into bed. Morning arrived with a piercing shriek that jolted me from a deep slumber. It took several disorienting moments to realize the sound had come from my own throat. I blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, or rather, what I wasn't seeing. Where my chest should have been flat and distinctly masculine, two rounded mounds now protruded beneath my t-shirt. My hands flew to my face, feeling softer skin and fuller lips. Long strands of hair fell into my eyes as I scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over my suddenly ill-fitting pajama bottoms. I stumbled to the bathroom, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. The person staring back at me from the mirror was undeniably female. Delicate features, wide eyes framed by long lashes, and waves of chestnut hair cascading past my shoulders. This can't be happening, I whispered, my voice higher and softer than I'd ever heard it. It's not possible. But the evidence was undeniable. Somehow, overnight, I had completely transformed from male to female. Panic set in as the full implications of my situation began to sink in. How would I explain this to anyone? What about my classes, my research? My entire life had just been turned upside down in the span of a few hours. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my phone and dialed the one person I knew I could trust. Sierra, I need you to come over. Now, and please, don't freak out when you see me. 30 minutes later, a rapid knock at my door announced Sierra's arrival. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for her reaction, and opened the door. Sierra's eyes widened comically as she took in my appearance. Devin, is that really you? I nodded, feeling a lump form in my throat. Yeah, it's me. I don't know how, but this happened. Sierra stepped inside, closing the door behind her. She circled me slowly, taking in every detail of my transformed body. Holy shit, she breathed. How is this even possible? I ran a hand through my newly long hair, still marveling at the sensation. I think it might have been the serum I've been working on. A drop must have gotten on me yesterday. Sierra's brow furrowed. But wasn't that supposed to be for cellular regeneration? How could it change your entire gender? I shook my head, feeling overwhelmed. I don't know. Maybe there was some unexpected interaction with my DNA. I need to get back to the lab, run some tests. Whoa, hold on, Sierra interjected, placing a gentle hand on my arm. You can't just waltz into the lab looking like this. We need to figure out how to handle this situation first. Reality crashed down on me like a tidal wave. She was right. I couldn't just go about my normal life as if nothing had changed. Tears welled up in my eyes as the full weight of my predicament settled on my shoulders. Sierra pulled me into a hug, her familiar scent providing a small measure of comfort. "Hey, it's going to be okay. We'll figure this out together, all right?" I nodded against her shoulder, grateful for her unwavering support. As we pulled apart, a thought occurred to me.
"We should probably call Murphy. He was there when I was working with the serum yesterday."
Sierra agreed, and soon Murphy's lanky frame was crowding my small living room, his eyes as wide as saucers as he took in my new appearance.
Dudette? This is insane!"
he exclaimed, pacing back and forth. "Are you sure it was the serum?" I nodded, perching on the edge of my couch. "It's the only explanation that makes any sense. I need to get back to the lab, analyze my blood, figure out what happened." Murphy's brow furrowed.
"But how are you going to explain this to Professor Hernandez? Or anyone else at the university, for that matter?"
The three of us fell into a heavy silence as we contemplated the enormity of the situation. It was Sierra who finally broke the tension. What if we don't try to explain it?" she suggested hesitantly. Murphy and I turned to her, confusion etched on our faces. Sierra continued, her words coming faster as she warmed to the idea. "Look, trying to explain this to anyone is going to raise way too many questions. Questions that could put your research at risk, Devin, not to mention the media circus it would create." I nodded slowly, seeing where she was going with this. "So, what are you suggesting?" "We create a new identity for you," Sierra said, her eyes shining with determination. "A transfer student, maybe. That way you can continue your studies and your research without drawing unwanted attention." Murphy snapped his fingers. "That could work. We'd need to forge some documents, but between the three of us, I bet we could pull it off." I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since waking up in this new body. "But what about my old life? My family?" Sierra's expression softened.
"We'll figure something out. Maybe say you've gone abroad for a research opportunity? It's not ideal, but it could buy us some time to find a way to reverse this."
As we hashed out the details of my new identity, I found myself warming to the idea. It wasn't perfect, but it was a plan, something to hold on to in the chaos my life had become. "So," Murphy said, a mischievous glint in his eye, "what should we call you?" I thought for a moment, trying out different names in my head. Finally, one felt right. "Rayna," I said, the name feeling both foreign and familiar on my tongue. "My name is Rayna." The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity as we put our plan into motion. Sierra and Murphy were invaluable, helping me navigate the unfamiliar terrain of womanhood while we worked to establish my new identity. Shopping for a new wardrobe was a surreal experience. I stood in the fitting room of a department store, staring at my reflection in disbelief as Sierra handed me item after item to try on.
"How do women deal with all these options?"
I groaned, fumbling with the clasp of yet another bra. Sierra laughed, reaching over to help. "You'll get used to it. Besides, you look amazing in that color." I blushed, still unused to compliments on my appearance. The dress I wore was a deep emerald that complemented my new coloring perfectly. "Thanks," I mumbled, smoothing the fabric over my curves. As we left the store, bags in hand, I caught sight of my reflection in a shop window. The person staring back at me was becoming more familiar each day, but there was still a disconnect between what I saw and who I felt I was inside. Back at my apartment, Murphy was hard at work on his laptop, creating the digital trail for my new identity.
"All right, Rayna," he said, looking up as we entered. "You are now officially a transfer student from the University of California, San Diego. Your transcripts and test scores should be showing up in the system by tomorrow."
I felt a mixture of gratitude and guilt wash over me. "Thanks, Murph. I don't know how I'll ever repay you guys for all this." Sierra squeezed my shoulder. "That's what friends are for. Now, let's see what fabulous outfits you got." As I modeled my new clothes for my friends, I felt a strange sense of excitement bubbling up inside me. It was as if I was getting to know myself all over again, discovering new aspects of my personality through this unexpected change. The real test came a few days later when I stepped onto campus for the first time as Rayna. My heart pounded as I made my way to the administration building, the folder containing my transfer documents clutched tightly to my chest. "Just breathe," I whispered to myself, channeling Sierra's encouraging words from our many practice sessions. "You've got this." The woman at the front desk looked up as I approached, a friendly smile on her face. "Can I help you?" I took a deep breath and smiled back. "Yes, I'm Rayna Alvarez. I'm a transfer student, and I'm here to finalize my registration." To my immense relief, everything went smoothly. Within an hour, I had my new student ID and class schedule in hand. As I walked across the quad, I felt a mix of exhilaration and terror. I was really doing this, starting a new life as someone entirely different. My first class of the day was Advanced Genetics, a course I had been looking forward to all semester. As Devin, I had already registered for this class, and now I found myself sitting in the same room, surrounded by familiar faces who had no idea who I really was. Professor Hernandez swept into the room, her presence commanding everyone's attention. Her eyes landed on me, and I felt a moment of panic. Did she recognize me? "Ah, you must be our new transfer student," she said, her voice warm. "Rayna, isn't it?" I nodded, finding my voice. "Yes, that's right. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor Hernandez." As the lecture began, I found myself slipping into the familiar rhythm of note-taking and active listening. The material was challenging, but it was a welcome distraction from the constant awareness of my altered state. Halfway through the class, a question was posed that I knew the answer to. Knowledge carried over from my life as Devin. Before I could stop myself, my hand shot up. Professor Hernandez nodded in my direction. "Yes, Rayna?" I launched into an explanation, my passion for the subject overriding my nervousness. As I spoke, I noticed a few of my classmates turning to look at me with interest. When I finished, Professor Hernandez's eyebrows were raised in approval. "Excellent analysis, Rayna. It seems UCSD has prepared you well." A warm glow of pride spread through me, tinged with a bittersweet edge. This was still my work, my knowledge, even if it came from a life I could no longer claim as my own. As the weeks passed, I settled into a routine as Rayna. My days were filled with classes, lab work, and the ongoing process of adjusting to my new body and social role. Sierra and Murphy remained my rocks, always there to offer support or distraction when the weight of my secret became too much to bear. One afternoon, as I was leaving the lab, I quite literally ran into someone rounding the corner. Papers went flying, and I found myself stammering apologies as I helped gather them up. "I'm so sorry, I wasn't looking where I was going," I said, handing over the last of the scattered documents. "No worries," came the reply, and I looked up to meet the warm brown eyes of a guy I vaguely recognized from one of my classes. "I'm Ethan, by the way. You're Rayna, right? From Advanced Genetics?" I nodded, suddenly very aware of how close we were standing. "Yeah, that's me." Ethan smiled, and I felt an unfamiliar flutter in my stomach. "I was really impressed by your contributions in class the other day. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime and discuss the latest journal articles." The invitation caught me off guard. As Devin, I had never been particularly skilled at picking up on romantic cues. Now, as Rayna, I found myself in uncharted territory. Was this just a friendly academic invitation or something more? Sure," I heard myself saying. "That sounds great." As Ethan walked away with a wave and a promise to text me, I leaned against the wall, my heart racing. What had I just agreed to? And more importantly, how did I feel about it? That evening, I recounted the encounter to Sierra over our weekly dinner and movie night. She listened with rapt attention, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Sounds like someone has an admirer," she teased, nudging me with her elbow. I felt my cheeks grow warm. "It's not like that. He just wants to discuss research." Sierra raised an eyebrow. "Uh-huh. And I'm sure the fact that you're gorgeous has nothing to do with it. I threw a pillow at her, laughing despite myself. Stop it! I don't even know how to handle this kind of attention. As Devon, I was always so focused on my studies that dating never really factored in. Sierra's expression softened. Hey, it's okay to be confused. This is all new territory for you. But don't close yourself off to new experiences just because they're scary. You might surprise yourself. Her words stuck with me over the next few days as I grappled with my conflicting emotions. On one hand, the idea of pursuing any kind of romantic relationship in this body felt strange, almost like a betrayal of who I used to be. On the other hand, I couldn't deny the spark of attraction I had felt when talking to Ethan. When the day of our coffee meetup arrived, I spent an embarrassing amount of time agonizing over what to wear. In the end, I settled on a simple sweater and jeans combo that Sierra assured me looked cute, but not trying too hard. As I walked into the coffee shop, I spotted Ethan at a corner table, already engrossed in a scientific journal. The sight brought a smile to my face. Here was someone who shared my passion for knowledge. Hey, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. Sorry I'm a little late. I got caught up reviewing some lab results. Ethan looked up, his face breaking into a warm smile.
No problem at all. I hope you don't mind. I already ordered for us.
I remembered you mentioning you liked chai lattes in class last week. The fact that he had remembered such a small detail about me sent another flutter through my stomach. As we dove into a discussion about the latest advancements in CRISPR technology, I found myself relaxing, the initial awkwardness melting away. Hours passed without either of us noticing, our conversation flowing easily from one topic to the next. It wasn't until the barista announced they were closing that we realized how long we'd been talking. Wow, I can't believe it's so late already, I said, glancing at my phone in surprise. Ethan looked equally shocked. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess, he said with a sheepish grin. Listen, there's a guest lecture series on bioethics starting next week. Would you maybe want to go together? I hesitated for just a moment before nodding. I'd like that. As I walked home that evening, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The evening had been enjoyable, more so than I had anticipated. But with every step forward into this new life, I couldn't help but feel the weight of my secret growing heavier. The next few months brought a whirlwind of changes and challenges. My relationship with Ethan grew slowly but steadily, each interaction bringing a mix of excitement and guilt. I found myself opening up to him about my passions and dreams while carefully sidestepping any mention of my past. In the lab, my research was progressing well. I had managed to recreate the serum that had transformed me, but attempts to reverse the process had so far been unsuccessful. Each failed experiment brought a mixture of frustration and relief. Part of me desperately wanted to return to my old life, while another part had grown accustomed to, even fond of, my new existence. It was during this time that I discovered an unexpected talent. The drama department was holding open auditions for their spring production, and Sierra, in an attempt to get me to live a little, had dared me to try out. Come on, Rayna, she cajoled. It'll be fun. And who knows, maybe you've got hidden talents you never knew about. Reluctantly, I agreed, more to humor her than anything else. To my shock, not only did I land a role, but I found that I genuinely enjoyed the process. There was something freeing about stepping into another character's shoes, about expressing emotions and experiences that weren't my own. As opening night approached, I found myself spending more and more time at rehearsals. The stress of maintaining my double life seemed to melt away when I was on stage, replaced by the exhilaration of performance. Ethan was supportive of my newfound passion, often bringing me coffee during late-night rehearsals and offering words of encouragement. His presence in my life had become a source of both joy and constant anxiety. The more I cared for him, the more I feared the consequences of my deception. The night of the performance arrived, and as I stood backstage, heart pounding, I caught sight of my reflection in a mirror. The person staring back at me was Rayna. But for the first time, I didn't feel a disconnect between that image and my sense of self. Somehow, through all the challenges and changes, I had grown into this new identity. As I stepped out onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding me, I felt a surge of confidence. For the next 2 hours, I wasn't Rayna or Devin, I was simply an actor, bringing a character to life. The applause at the end of the show was thunderous. As I took my bow, I spotted Ethan, Sierra, and Murphy in the audience, all on their feet, cheering loudly. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of their support and the thrill of my accomplishment, I felt truly at peace with myself for the first time since my transformation. After the show, as we celebrated at a nearby restaurant, Ethan pulled me aside. His expression was serious, and I felt a flicker of apprehension.
Rayna, there's something I need to tell you,
he began, his voice low.
I think I'm falling in love with you.
The words hit me like a physical blow. Part of me soared at the confession, while another part recoiled in panic. How could I continue this relationship built on such a massive lie? Ethan, I started, not sure how to respond. There's something you need to know about me, something I should have told you a long time ago. And so, in a quiet corner of the restaurant, with the sounds of celebration in the background, I told him everything. About Devin, about the serum, about the life I had left behind. As I spoke, I watched the play of emotions across his face, shock, disbelief, hurt, and finally, a calm understanding. When I finished, we sat in silence for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Ethan spoke. I won't pretend this isn't a lot to process, he said slowly. But Rayna, or Devin, or whoever you feel you are, I've gotten to know you over these past months. Your passion, your intelligence, your kindness,
those things are real regardless of how you came to be in this body.
Tears welled up in my eyes as he continued.
I can't say I understand everything about your situation, but I know that I care about you. The you that you are now. If you'll let me, I'd like to be here to support you as you continue to figure things out.
Relief and gratitude washed over me in equal measure. I reached out, taking his hand in mine. Thank you, I whispered, for listening, for understanding. I don't know what the future holds, but I'd like you to be a part of it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.